Okay, so thanks for being with us this morning. Congress has not declared war since 1942, and yet we were later involved in conflicts in Korea and Vietnam, which led to the War Powers Resolution of 1973. Right. So we want you to be here this morning to give us some of this background on why it was created and what the president needs to use it for.
Okay, well, first of all, we have to start with the owner's manual, the United States Constitution.
There it is.
There it is. Article 1, Section 8 says, Congress shall have the power to declare war. Not the president, Congress. And frankly, since 1942, Congress really hasn't done its job in that, and we've kind of let this go around. In response to both Korea and the Vietnam War, Congress passed the War Powers Resolution and then the War Powers Act of 1973. And the president is supposed to follow that, and he can only issue strikes if there is statutory authorization, Congress approves it, or a national emergency created by an attack upon the U.S. None of those things have occurred here. So this is an illegal war. And despite what certain congresspersons and senators may say, the War Powers Resolution, the War Powers Act has not been followed here. And that's how we do it. Look, the framers of the Constitution did this so that one guy couldn't make the entire country go to war. We have to have our representatives, Congress, weighed in, and that hasn't occurred here. So we've got a Constitution now, unless somebody steps in and enforces it, that allows one person to decide that the whole country goes to war, and that's just not what was intended.
It may not be what's intended, but if you look at Lebanon, Iraq, Somalia, Kosovo, Libya, Syria, those are just a few of the countries the U.S. has conducted military operations since the War Powers Act was put in place. So despite, the checks and balance system here, presidents are still able to order military operations. Can we talk a little bit about the track record of legal challenges to some of the actions maybe I just talked about?
Yeah, well, in most of those other actions, there has been kind of a congressional buy-up. For instance, in Vietnam, there was the Gulf of Tonkin resolutions, which kind of went to Congress, and the Supreme Court said, well, okay, it wasn't a real official declaration of war, but you at least had Congress's agreement to it, and continuing budgets provided to maintain the war, both in Korea and Vietnam, and our subsequent actions that have occurred. You've at least had some congressional buy-off on the idea that things had to occur, if not a formal declaration. You've got none of that here, so this is pretty distinguished, and distinguishing from that. To give an example, when George Bush Sr., President George Bush Sr., developed a coalition that first kind of beat Iraq, not the subsequent war that his son got us into, but the war he did, there was congressional approval. There was kind of buy-in. There was acceptance before the war was launched. Here you just have the president using his power over the military as commander-in-chief to just send bombs. And it's categorically different than a lot of what's occurred before.
Yeah, and of course, we're hearing from lawmakers. We have been hearing from them all weekend in the House and Senate, talking about how they'll be introducing bills to require congressional approval moving forward for actions in Iran. But of course, the president can veto those bills. So do you think that's going to do anything?
No, it probably won't, because I think the president's motivation is to take away problems with his domestic problems in the country and his low approval rating. And the best way to do that is launch a war. And so everything's talking, look, we're all talking about this, and we're not talking about Epstein files or anything else that's going on, or the state of the economy or affordability. So, will he just ignore the Congress? Yes. But I would say that this could be an article of impeachment. The president's willful failure to pass or to follow the War Powers Resolution in 1973 could be a basis for impeachment of the President of the United States.
Oh, with the way Congress is laid out right now, though, I don't think that will happen. I guess we'll have to wait for midterms. Robert, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
We have more